welcome to episode 1 of Canine Connections. This is a partnership between HCAM and Bay Path Humane Society to bring our wonderful animal-loving community some great content on all things dog. Well, we may touch on some cat behavior at some point. But anyway, I'm Elizabeth Jeffress. I am the Executive Director of Bay Path Humane Society, and this is my little Bay Path rescue, Billy. And this is my great friend, Beth.
I'm Beth McLeod. I'm the Director of Training and Behavior, and I left all my dogs at home today.
We just wanted to start off by talking a little bit about Bay Path, but we're looking forward to presenting a lot of content along the way about all things dog behavior, training, enrichment, and how to actually do some training. But to start off, Bay Path started here in Hopkinton in 1977. At that time, if you were a stray cat or dog picked up in a time with no social media, if you weren't claimed within 2 days, you were sold to Harvard Labs for experimentation. A horrified volunteer community got together and started a foster network to take in these animals until they could find a home. And then in 1987, they raised money to have the building that we're in today. And then as things progressed, with meeting the community need, we also found that there was a need throughout the country, actually, and started bringing up transports of dogs and eventually cats as well. So the organization has grown throughout the years to accommodate that. To that end, we do help dogs and cats, although we wish we could accommodate goats, but at this time, cats and dogs.
Always the goats.
All right. In terms of who we serve in our community, we serve people in need of rehoming services for whatever reason.
The dogs, not the people.
Right, the dogs, and the cats too. Obviously, people that need to move, or if the animal has a behavior challenge or whatnot. Again, we do help our national rescue partners. And another great partnership we have is with our local animal control officers. We hold for Hopkinton Animal Control, and we have relationships with Grafton and Westboro as well. And we work with so many animal control partners throughout the state. Beth, do you want to talk a little more about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been training dogs professionally since, the late 90s. And once my children were a little older and I had some time one day, somewhere around 2009, I happened to walk into the Bay Path shelter and said, hey, I have some free time, how can I help? And I've been there on and off ever since. A lot of, if you're at the shelter all the time, you won't necessarily see me. A lot of my role is in supporting both our staff and our volunteers with maybe more difficult dogs, but also I try to support our adopters, those who are looking to surrender, to counsel them through that process, and at times being able to stop that surrender and help people understand how they can keep their dog in their home. So, my primary goal is to support all our staff, our volunteers, and our adopters, both past and present and future.
Beth is an incredible resource for our organization, and I can attest to how many times she's helped me personally, but also so many people in our constituency, and sometimes just people that have nothing to do with Bay Path who reach out in need of help. So grateful to work with you, my friend. I started volunteering at Bay Path in 2010, started working there in 2011. The rest is history. I have a background when I was younger in economics, financial services, and some experience having volunteered at shelters in, though I'm from here, a shelter in Naples and a shelter out in Denver. So, was so grateful to have the opportunity to bring, a little bit of my, business acumen and my love for animals and bring them together to help grow this organization. We just want to talk to you a little bit about some of our programs and how our community can get involved. Beth, do you want to talk about a few of our minutes?
So one of the things that we look at is where are our dogs coming from? And And they come from a wide variety of sources. Certainly local surrenders and dogs that may come from animal control. Also, we have transport partners, so we have dogs coming from down south. One of the things that we have done is actually created a program called Home to Home. It's very stressful being in the shelter environment for any dog, no matter how resilient the dog is. You know, putting into that kind of closed environment, it just really can send some dogs for a loop. So we created this program called Home to Home, which for some dogs, and that have the ability to stay in their home for a period of time, we adopt from the surrender's home into the adopter's home, thus reducing the stress for all the dogs involved. So we also work with some of the further out animal control, Boston, Worcester, different areas where people know that we have certain resources to be able to help certain dogs that maybe can't be helped at one of the bigger holding facilities. So certainly lots of different dogs coming from lots of different places.
And would you speak a little bit about how we go about the adoption process?
Yeah, so one of the things that I love about how BayPath does their adoptions is we actually do, it's a formal process. You have to fill out an application, and once we get your application, we review that, and then we do matchmaking calls, because we're not just interested in matching you with the cute polka dotted dog that's over here that happens to go with whatever fashion accessory we have at the moment, but we really want to make sure that this particular dog fits your life, right? We do not want to have dogs bouncing back in, so our staff is incredible at going through these applications and really finding the right dog for each individual home. It's really an amazing process. So we know that can be frustrating sometimes, because when you want the dog, you want a dog and you want to just like it's going to the store. But this, we've found, has really gotten us to the point where most of our matches are solid, and then everybody's happy at that point. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I always like to bring up the story. I was in my early 20s, and I went to look for the perfect accessory, which at 22, living in an apartment, I thought was a young wild child husky. And I was denied by the organization at the time, not BayPath, another one, but, and I actually joke with that organization about it. But in retrospect, they were right.
Yeah.
That said, I went on shortly thereafter, within minutes, identified a dog. This was newspaper days, and found a puppy for sale. I got a golden retriever puppy. She lived to be 15. I moved to Florida, Colorado, married, divorced, everything. The dog stayed with me. So I ended up being a good pet owner, but I don't blame them for that decision at the time. But those perspectives also are what we all try to take into consideration. To Beth's point, it is a matchmaking process. It's not a pass-fail. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the picket fence. We're looking for matches, and we're looking to enrich people's lives, understanding that there's no perfect demographic for the perfect adopter. So yeah, and I'd just like to talk about a couple other programs we have for people, maybe people aren't in position to adopt, but we are able to facilitate all these adoptions because of our incredible volunteer program. I was looking at the numbers the other day. We have over 180 active volunteers. That's on-site dog and cat care. We have volunteers who just come in to clean and do dishes.
We love those.
And
those
laundry,
are our favorites.
right?
Yes,
and everyone
absolutely.
says it. They'd rather do our dishes than their own, which we love about them. We also have people that do medical transport. Because we don't have on-site medical facilities, we travel to various places: North Brookfield, Sterling, Tufts, and Grafton, and we have a million volunteers that run over there for us. And then our administrative volunteers. In the last 4 months alone, we brought on another 26 volunteers. So we're always recruiting. We have very strong mentorship and leveling program to make sure everyone's safe, the animals and the people. Another great program that we have that allows us to serve close to 1,000 cats and dogs a year is a foster program that's very, organized and well maintained. We have probably 40 dog fosters and 70 or so cat fosters. We actually have about 300 kittens a year that run through that foster system. And a couple off-site programs that we have is our incredible food pantry partnership with our favorite project, Just Because. We have an outreach program where we go to, farmers markets and, different festivals and stuff to create awareness. And then lastly, our BayPath Educates program, which is a unique program, mostly born out of the fact that we don't have a lot of space on site, which anyone who's been there knows. But we have a volunteer who goes out and meets with youth groups, senior groups, people with intellectual or physical challenges to deliver programming to them about, careers in animals, how to interact with animals safely and whatnot. And that's been able to bring a lot of program to people that otherwise wouldn't be able to have access to it. So that is just a few things that we do, and always wishing to have more people involved. So you can always go to our website and see how to get involved in any of those programs.
So I want to share a few things about what I think makes BayPath really unique. One of the things is that we take a personalized approach to each dog. Every dog comes in, gets evaluated, gets assessed, both temperament-wise and physically. So we try to attend to each dog's specific needs rather than just like, hey, look, here's a dog, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Every dog that comes into our shelter has, for the most part, an individual plan, which is fantastic. It allows us to get more information for the adopter, and it allows the dog to at least reduce the amount of stress they experience while they're with us, which is just so important. And some of the ways that we do that are, first of all, we have an incredible, and I'm going to say this multiple times on multiple shows, an incredible staff and volunteer base. Our staff is so well educated, and they are so committed to being educated about how dogs learn, how they process information, what creates stress, what alleviates stress, and our volunteers too. So through that, we're able to do a lot of enrichment activities for our dogs. When I first came to BayPath, well over a decade ago, I remember saying, stop walking the dogs. All we're getting are fit dogs, right? So in that time, the staff has really embraced how can we meet more of the dog's needs, not just their physical needs, but their emotional needs, their psychological needs. And so we have programs in place where we work on basic training, where we provide enrichment to them, where we have food toys. None of our dogs eat out of bowls, I don't think. The last time I saw a dog eat out of a bowl was ages ago. So we use toys to feed our dogs. We do all that to ensure that during that period of time that they're with us, whether it's 24 hours or 24 days, that we are encompassing them as a whole. And one of the things that we really are committed to is positive reinforcement training. And positive reinforcement training does not mean training with no boundaries. It doesn't mean, that dogs get to do whatever they want. But for those of you who don't know what positive reinforcement training is, it is science-based training that is, endorsed by the American Veterinary Society of Animal Behaviorists. There's research behind it that says there is a kinder, gentler, more humane and ethical way to approach training. How I trained dogs when I was, in my 20s, I won't tell you what year that was, but is very much in the polar direction from how I train dogs today. I look at the dog as an individual, as a sentient being, as a being that has thoughts and feelings and emotions, and we use that at the shelter to begin to build behaviors that we want to see in the dog and to begin to diminish behaviors that we find might be more challenging for that dog going into a home. So we're going to have a whole segment later on at least two episodes just specifically addressing training. But for now, positive reinforcement training you just need to know that we're looking to reinforce behaviors that we want to see repeated. And we use that by using things that the dog finds reinforcing. For some dogs, that's going to be food. For some dogs, that's going to be toys. For some dogs, it's going to be attention. But the dog determines that, not us. So, right?
Exactly. And with that, we'd love to introduce a recent success story, which we feel is a culmination of so much of what Beth's talking about, our approach to how we take care of the animals, but also how we get them. This is a story about two dogs that came to us through a international partnership, and how we took them in, assessed their needs, and did as much as we could to enrich their lives, and promoted them to get them a home together. And thanks to HCAM and our other media outlets, we were able to do that. So I'd love to share the story of Liam and Nellie with you.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope. Fill my head with roses. I can't help but dream away, standing on a field with you and flowers everywhere. Maybe there is a star with your name. One thing I know is that there should be. There is no one who has a heart as pure, no, not like yours. Dreaming of you. Dreaming of you. Smile. What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Dreaming of you.
So now we're going to do a little segment with our trainer. We were going to use my dog, Billy, but she prefers to be a throw pillow. So we're going to use HCAM's own Percy for this segment. So Beth, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so what we're going to work on for this week, and we're going to do this every week, where we're going to give you guys a little something to work on. And then what we'd love to do is have you email your video of you working on whatever the trick of the week is, and send that to training@baypathhumane.org. So what we're going to talk about quickly, as I have my new friend Percy, who I've never worked before. So we're going to talk for 2 seconds about learning. And this week we're going to play what's called the name game. And that game is really just to strengthen your dog's response to his or her name. Dogs and names, different than us. We have like emotional attachment to our names. We like our name, we hate our name. We're kind of ambivalent about our name. But for a dog, their name is really just a cue. They learn their name. They don't speak English or any other language, but they've learned that name through association. We call our dog, and then they turn, and then they, we reinforce them. So this dog's name is Percy, but I'm going to show you that you can change your dog's name at any time. I have a dog at home. He has 3 different names, depending on who's calling him. He responds equally to all 3 names. So what do we think this dog should be called, Liz?
Steve.
Steve. Okay. Wouldn't have been my choice, but let's go with Steve, okay?
Why not?
So all we're going to do is we are going to reinforce Steve when he responds to his name. So I'm going to just I'm just going to send him away a little bit with a cookie, and then I'm going to call him back with his new name. Steve. Yes. Steve. Yes. Whoop, I dropped that one. You get a freebie. Steve. Yes. Good boy. So for him, it's just an association that, oh, I hear this word, I turn around, I come back, and something really good happens for me. Steve. Yes. Good boy. Good boy. So another thing that you want to know about behavior is that a lot of times people will say, like, my dog knows this behavior. Yes. My dog knows this behavior, but then I go to the brewery and my dog doesn't listen to me. It's because dogs don't generalize quite as well as people do. So if I'm teaching Steve, who hasn't quite assimilated his new name yet, right? So if I'm teaching Percy his new name of Steve, I'm going to do it at my house where it's quiet, where not a lot is going on, and then I'm going to start moving it around. I'm going to train it in the backyard. I'm going to work on it at Tractor Supply. I'm going to take him to the brewery. So he starts to get that, oh, whenever she says my name, Steve, yes, good boy. Whenever she says my name and I come back to her, I'm going to get reinforced, right? So we're just going to send him off again. Steve, yes, good boy. And if Steve was if I had some toys, I could throw some toys down. But all I'm doing is I'm reinforcing each time that the dog responds to that name. So I can't go very far because I've been told I'm attached. But I'm just going to move around and see. Can you call his actual name?
Percy. Percy.
One more time.
Percy.
Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. One more time.
Throw pillow's getting angry.
One more time.
Percy.
Steve. Good. Good boy. So you can see, like, this distraction, I get less of a response. So I'm just going to, oh my goodness, that's exciting. So I'm just going to practice, like I said, in quieter areas first, and then I'm going to start to add the distraction of, somebody walking around, somebody rolling toys. There you go. But I also a perfect example of this, of why we strengthen our dog's name. You don't have to change your dog's name, but you can always strengthen your dog's name. And a perfect example of this is that when Liz was calling his actual name, you saw that she said that 2 or 3 times, and he was glued in on me because, of course, I had just given Percy, come here. I had just given him cookies, and I was interacting and engaged with him. Yes, and it took him a minute to turn around and look at her, right? So if it's your dog, what you want to do is really create that reinforcement history of, hey, when you respond to me, really great stuff happens for you, right? Yes, good boy. Excellent. So Percy and I want to say thank you very much for playing this game with us, right? And we'd love to see your videos next week. Yes, good job.
And that's training at baypathhumane.org.
Yes, excellent. Good boy.
Thank you so much for tuning in for episode 1.
We'll be back again.
We will. We'll be back again. We have a lot of great programming in store, and we'll get our stride. But thank you guys for checking in. And next time, we're going to be doing some more in-depth training.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.